Students who are studying for our Chapter 9 tests. Now on page 2 here, the biggest thing you got to realize right away is that we're looking for a radical answer with no decimals. Okay, so what I'm going to do as I go through this is I'm going to show you the fastest and best way to do each of these problems. We could obviously use Pythagorean theorem on all of them that have two sides, but we're going to try to find the best way. Now looking at number 12 here, the first thing I notice is that the leg of the right triangle and the hypotenuse of the right triangle are in the ratio of, what do we have usually? Opposite the 30-degree angle. So this here is a 30-degree angle. This here would be a 60-degree angle. So yep, so that ratio is supposed to be x root 3 and 2x. So looking at that and recognizing that it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle, we can see that the x value is 90. So opposite the 30, this side would have to be just 90. A lot easier than doing Pythagorean theorem. All right, now moving on to number 13. I'm going to change my pen width a little bit here. All right, so moving on to number 13, I always want to try to recognize a family if I can. So looking here, I know all of my families, 3, 4, 5, 5, 12, 13, and there it is, the 5, 12, 13 family. So 5 times 7, 12 times 7, and then 13 times 7 is going to give me my answer of 91. Oh, this is your first time on this adventure of the Vimeo tablet. It's kind of hard to write. I will try to get better as I gain practice, but I apologize when I do stuff like this. Okay, moving on to number 14. It's clearly not a family. You can hopefully see pretty quickly that this isn't going to be one we're going to be able to make a 30, 60, 90, 45, 45, 90. So sometimes we just need to do Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this side, I'm going to call this side B. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have 5 root 6 squared plus B squared equals 8, oops, I'm running out of room here, root 10 squared. Sorry about that. Okay, so 5 squared would be 25 times root 6 squared is just 6 plus B squared, and that equals, sorry that looks really bad, but that's 8 root 10 squared, remember, so 8 squared is 64 and root 10 squared is 10. So what we have is 25 times 6, we have 150 plus B squared equals 640. Subtracting 150 from both sides, we're getting B squared equal to 490. Now this is not a very easy, simple problem like the first two. We're going to take the square root of both sides here, and we're going to simplify this radical, and hopefully you can see right here with that 490, it isn't that much of a tricky one to simplify. That's the square root of 49 times the square root of 10, so that simplifies to 7 root 10. And that would be B. Again, using just the Pythagorean theorem there. Okay, looking at 15, this is definitely one of my personal favorite types because that reduced right triangle really works well. There's not a family here. There's not a 30, 60, 90 or a 45, 45, 90. So what we're going to do is simply say that a 50 goes into both of those. So if I take a 50 out, I get a 1. If I take a 50 out of here, I have a 5. And now if I call this side x, or the number associated with these numbers x, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Pythagorean theorem. 1 squared plus 5 squared equals x squared. So that gives me 1 plus 25 equals x squared. So you can see we're going to get eventually here x equal to the square root of 26. Now that is not the answer to the problem. When I bring my answer up here, I remember I divided by 50. So now, back up there, I must multiply by 50. And then I get my answer nice and neat of 50 root 26. All right, looking at this one, hopefully you can clearly see that this is an 8, 15, you guessed it folks, 17 family. Multiple of 2 each time, so what I do is I multiply by 2 and I get my hypotenuse of 34. Now remember, the 8, 15, 17 family is not our best and important family. Our geometry family in class is our best and most important family. Just want you to remember that. Okay, so now number 17. You're always going to use my hint, hopefully, that opposite the 30 you're going to label with an x. Opposite the 60 is going to be the x root 3, and opposite the 90 is going to be 2x. Now, 5 is supposed to be equal to x root 3, so what we're going to do here is we're actually going to write x root 3 is supposed to be equal to 5. Then we're going to divide both sides by that root 3, because the whole goal here is to get the x by itself. And then I'm going to rationalize by multiplying by root 3 over root 3. Now many kids ask, do I cancel at this point? I want you to think about what canceling would do, and then you would know, no, we don't cancel, because you'd be right back to where you started. So now what we have is x equal to 5 root 3 over 3. Now that is your x value, so plugging that back into the triangle and making sense out of it, that means this side is going to be 5 root 3 over 3. And then going back up here, that's going to be this times 2. Now remember, this is what a lot of kids do, is multiply the top and the bottom by 2. But then you didn't really multiply by anything. So you got to multiply by 2, and your answer would be 10 root 3 over 3 for the hypotenuse. Okay, we're going to move down here and conclude this first video, this first page that we're doing here with the rest of these. So here, opposite the 30, these are actually really nice. Opposite the 30 is my x value, right? So opposite the 60 would be my x root 3. Opposite the 90 would be 2x. So looking here, I have my x value given to me. I'd simply plug it in here. So that would be 12 root 3 times root 3, which is really just 12 times 3. So we get the side length here of the leg to be 36. And then 2 times 12 root 3, you just double that x value, and you get 24 root 3. You should be saying thank you to us when we give you one like this, because it's automatically a 45, 45, 90. So that has to be 90, and then the hypotenuse is our x value, or our leg value, times the square root of 2. And then here, a little bit trickier, this is supposed to be x, this is supposed to be x, opposite is x root 2. So that's your equation that you set up, x root 2 equals 10. And this is just like that 30, 60, 90 we did in number 17. We want to divide by the square root of 2. You will get some more canceling here though when we rationalize the denominator. So this is going to be x equal to 10 root 2 over 2. And then these two can cancel, and you can get an x value of 5 root 2 over 1. And that's actually the answer to the side lengths of this problem. 5 root 2, 5 root 2. Okay, looking at number 21, hopefully you're getting the habit of looking for the families quickly. That's what we want you to get the habit of. And if you investigate your families, looks like we might have something with a 24 and with a 25 here. And in fact, it is a 7, 24, 25 family multiplied by 3 each time. So this answer to this one is 21. Interesting that the answer to 21 is 21. Okay, moving along. Opposite the 30 would be an x. We know our ratios. Opposite the 60 would be x root 3. and then opposite the 90 here we know is 2x. So there's your equation you set up right there. 18 is supposed to be 2x, so you can quickly see that your x value comes out to 9. So opposite the 30, we got ourselves a 9. Opposite the 60, we got ourselves a 9 root 3. So pretty straightforward application of the 30, 60, 90. And here, what we're trying to do is get you to quickly see your family. So that's going to be a 5, 12, 13. Oh, wait, it's not, because if that were the case, we would have ourselves a triangle where the hypotenuse is longer than the leg. So basically, all we wanted you to see here is that, wait, I notice that this triangle is not possible. You can't fool me.